Now you can, right? Okay, good. Good morning. Crystal, you can hear us online, thumbs up. Okay, good deal, good deal. Welcome everybody online and welcome everybody in the room to the Social Media Blueprint session. I'm Selena Shands. I'm the CEO and founder of Full Capacity Marketing. And this is Emma Kessner, who is Director of Marketing. And what she has done in today's session is absolutely brilliant, because when you get the handouts, you're going to have a whole roadmap for putting together your social media strategy. Just by show of hands, how many of you actually have a communications plan developed? Or okay, great, so there's a few of you, so social media is sort of part of that. Okay. She's like, well, kind of. After today will be even more. Go ahead and go to the next slide. For those of you who don't know much about Full Capacity Marketing, we're a marketing agency based in San Diego, California, but we have a national footprint. We've helped more than 750 workforce and education organizations across the nation build effective brands, and that's our passion. It's the only thing that's our lane. You people are our lane. We love what you do, and we have a strong passion for it. Today, what we're going to do is a couple of things. You want to go to the topic side? They don't need to see that one. Okay. Emma's going to take you through most of this, and it's going to be the first is just laying the foundation around social media operational systems. Have you ever gone, it's like, well, where's the password? Who's doing this on what platform? You know, and it sometimes can be unorganized. So we're going to help you get organized on the things you really need to make an effective operational system. And then we're going to talk about content, because if you don't have content, you have nothing to post on there. Where do you get that? What's the best content? How do you engage your adult learners and employers on social media? And then practical implementation. We're going to talk a little bit about AI. If you were in our AI session yesterday, we're going to give you a little bit more on gathering content efficiently, because it takes so much time. Anytime you have questions, for those of you online, you can use the Whova Q&A. And Crystal is texting us too, so we'll stop. I'm sorry, and this is Crystal Cornero online, and she is our social media manager. So you're amidst social media gurus today who can help you both online and in the room here. Hi, Crystal. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Emma, and we can get started.
Thank you, Selena. Okay. First, let's talk about why social media matters. It's as you can see here, the popularity of social media has grown a lot over the past few years, and that graph on the left hand, or the right hand side on Zoom and left hand side in person, or anyway, it's there, and you can see. YouTube is by far the most popular platform for adults, by far. It's around the 80% mark, and this is from Pew Research Center. They have a ton of really great data on the demographics of who is using what platforms. I highly recommend checking it out. Yeah, you can see here YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. In the poll that we put out on Whova, we saw a lot of people using Facebook, Instagram, a couple people using TikTok. And why it matters. Benefits. One is accessibility. It's free, easy to use. Anyone can create an account. It's a really great way to be able to reach, as Selena said, adult learners or employers, because a lot of small businesses have, for example, Instagram accounts. A lot of people are just using Facebook in general, Facebook groups. There's a lot of like local Facebook groups, maybe within your area, that people use to communicate with each other and connect with each other. And so social media is a really great way to be able to access people just from your phone. Another really great benefit is two-way communication. And so what that means is not just being able to put content out there, but being able to engage with your adult learners and being able to engage with businesses. And that is really beneficial for generating more connections and showcasing the benefits of your programs. And overall, it's just a really great way to just make another connection point with your adult learners. If they don't maybe attend something in person, you can kind of reach out to them on social media, and it's just a really great way to promote anything that you have. And so yeah, real-time interaction, you can get a comment, you can get feedback really easily, analytics to be able to see, okay, these posts were shared the most, were saved the most, these had the most link clicks, maybe we should do more content in that area, or maybe there's a lot of interest in this program, so maybe we should be promoting it more on other platforms aside from social media. It's a really great way to be able to kind of test things out and test the waters. And again, community building, it's just kind of part of the accessibility two-way communication. It's a really great way to just kind of go back and forth and speak to your audience. And then also information dissemination. What this means is really, if there is an emergency and you really want, a lot of people tend to turn towards social media platforms for the immediate announcements, right? I know X was really popular for that, Facebook too, and it's a really great way if there's maybe a rumor going around to squash that, or also to, if there's an emergency, you can really, it's another avenue for you to be able to quickly share important information that everyone needs to know, and then they can share it from there and yeah, spread the word. And lastly, lead generation. So this kind of, it's very helpful with paid ads, but it's also, you can use organic social media, just posting, and then someone maybe clicks the website in your bio, or clicks the link to get to your website, or your address, or your phone number. It's a really great way for people to find your contact information, and then ultimately take the next step to reach out and be interested in your programs.
I was going to ask, how many of you do paid ads, actually pay for ads? Okay. Organic social media, just posting and everything, can help your ad campaigns tremendously. So I don't know if we have a case study in here, but we'll talk about it a little bit later, especially since we're doing the case study on Hacienda La Puente. And we did a kind of a case study, a little test to see what would work best, just paid ads or paid ads plus the organic social media with the campaign. And by far the two combined, really good results. So just keep that in mind too.
Definitely. And so basically, to summarize, social media is a really great tool for, it's free, it's quick, it's accessible to everyone, and that's really the benefits here. And it's all about sharing information that's valuable to your audience. You can share, of course, something that goes viral or something like that, but really it's about connecting with the people that you want to reach in another way, and it's where they're at, as you can see from that graph. And another reminder, social media isn't permanent. So when we're talking about lead generation and directing to your website or directing to your permanent address or something like that, that's really important, because your Instagram account could be deleted tomorrow. And what do? Or a platform goes down and then you can't access it. And so it's really important to remember that while social media is a really valuable tool for reaching those people, it's also important to then direct those people to your e-newsletter list or website, or somewhere where you can continually connect with them and you don't have to rely on a social media algorithm to do that. All right, so now we're going to get into our first topic, which is social media operational systems. And we're going to be walking you through a case study as we go through this whole slide deck. And the case study that we'll be going through is Hacienda La Puente Adult Education. And we started working with them in 2022 to rebrand their school so it's top of mind when it comes to programs that they offer. And one of that was, as you can see, the before and after of their logo. We helped with that. And we also created a strategic communications plan to reach and engage all of their market segments, including, of course, adult learners. And in 2024 and 2025, we conducted a couple of integrated marketing campaigns, which included organic social media posts, just posting natively, and also paying for ads to maximize impact. And this was a lead generation campaign as well as awareness building. And we saw really great results, as we'll show you in the case study. And a little more about HLPAE. They serve over 15,000 adult and high school students annually. They offer lots of really great courses, ESL, GED, some technology, health trades classes as well.
They're unusual in that they also have an American Job Center on site there. How many of y'all have that at your campuses? Yeah, it's unique, but they have a lot of career technical education, and they can kind of merge it. I'm also warn you that our slides are very text heavy. And the reason we do that is when you get back home and you relook at the deck, it's almost like a little guide for you. So I'm sorry that they're text heavy, but you'll thank us when you're home. Okay.
All right. So before you even start with coming up with a strategy, we came up with this, and you'll see this in the one sheet and in the handouts as well. There are some things that we recommend doing before you even come up with that social media strategy, and it's really around research and gathering materials and gathering the information that you need to make sure your social media posting is effective and isn't just a waste of time. The first thing is account ownership. This is a big one. HLPAE had, when we were going through this whole process with them, we found out that they couldn't access their original Facebook page. Someone who no longer worked for this school still had access, and they just we tried many different ways to be able to appeal to Meta to be able to regain access, and it's very common. We usually see that a lot with our customers. And so that's a really, really important step, is evaluating who manages your social media accounts. Do you have access to all of them? Do you maybe, if you do a quick Google search, are there accounts that you weren't aware of? That is a really, really great first step. And also, how often do you post? Is there maybe a account that gets more engagement than the others? That's really a great place to start initially. And this goes kind of along with it, doing a content inventory. Maybe you already have a communications guidelines in place. Maybe there are platforms that your organization is not allowed to be on. For example, we know that TikTok, sometimes people aren't allowed to create accounts for that. And then also gathering maybe your brand guidelines, so you making sure that all of your colors are right when you're posting, maybe some testimonials that you can post, frequently asked questions. You have all of this content probably somewhere on your website, somewhere in a brochure, and so when you're thinking about coming up with content for social media, you don't need to rethink the wheel. You can really use what you already have and, again, share information that's valuable to your adult learners. And also consider creating these documents if you don't already have them. And our social media strategy guide handout kind of goes into more depth on some things you should think about when you're coming up with these documents. But maybe having a social media policy for how you want your team members to be interacting on social media, maybe some guidelines around language that you should use, tone that you should use when you're talking on social media. And then also a crisis communications plan can be very valuable. Again, people go to social media for emergencies. If there's an emergency, they tend to go to social media to see what's going on. And having a crisis communications plan in place for knowing who you need to go to be able to create that message, and who's going to be actually posting that, and who's going to be responding to questions. It's really important to kind of have that guideline in place, so then once you actually, hopefully, if you have a crisis, you'll know what to do. And then another really great step is to research your competition or research a similar adult ed program in your area, see what platforms they're on, see what type of content they post, maybe get some ideas there, and also, of course, see what engagement they have on their platforms. If they're really using Instagram and seeing really great results, maybe that's and you don't have an Instagram account, maybe that's a platform that you want to explore for your organization. And then lastly, list your differentiators. What makes your organization or programs unique compared to other organizations in your similar area? And it kind of goes with that researching your competition. And that can be something when you're posting weekly content, you really want to highlight those differentiators. Why choose you over someone else? And also, that's the type, those differentiators are what you should put ad dollars behind, right? That's what you should be promoting and really getting out there to your students or potential students, is what are the benefits for choosing you over someone else?
I just say too, we covered this yesterday in our AI session. A couple of y'all were in there, but talking about how to do research using AI and looking at your similar organizations. We call them competitors. They may even be partners of yours, but it's important to get a handle on, you know, your unique differentiator. So if you want, you can go pull that handout down from Huva from our AI session yesterday, and that'll be helpful. We've got a cheat sheet in there as well.
All right. To help you with research and gathering materials, one of the handouts that we have for you today that you can download using that link that we had on that second slide is a social media audit checklist. And it kind of goes into the steps that we had on that previous slide around account ownership. Do you have access to all the accounts? That's the big first step. And then also the checklist goes into your branding, like do you have the same profile pictures, bio, that type of stuff, but also is your website and contact information readily available on all of your profiles? Do you have your website right there? I know in my experience when I've done these social media audits for organizations, sometimes the phone number is like really outdated, or the contact email is really outdated, or the website link is incorrect, there's a typo. Things like that, very small details, but they make a big difference when people go into your profile. And I know from experience, when I'm looking up an organization or looking up a brand, you can kind of go to an Instagram profile and see all of that information there. And it's a really great way to kind of see what you're all about. And we've seen that adult learners tend to go and kind of explore your profile on social media, as especially if your website isn't very easy to use. And then the part 2 of the social media audit checklist is really around evaluating your content. Like I mentioned before, doing an inventory of organizations' posts, seeing what has very high engagement, what doesn't. And also, of course, seeing how your accounts align with, if you have a communications plan, how they align with your overall communications goal. Are you saying what all of your other platforms are saying? Do you know who's actually managing those accounts? Another thing to think about is what are your current processes for gathering content from your students, from your teachers, pictures? That can go a long way on social media, is having pictures of actual human beings instead of just a flyer. It can make them feel seen and heard. And also, do you ask your students what social media platforms they're on? Yes. Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So the question was for everyone online. When asking to receive content from their students, they have them sign a media release form. And then when they want to post a picture on Facebook, they usually put like a little sticker over their face or something like that. And the question was, is there a better way to do that? Yeah, first of all, yes, it's very important to have media release forms signed for all of your students. You should not be posting anything without permission. Typically, we just don't end up posting those pictures. Honestly, it's just, yeah, yeah,
Have a statement to
yeah.
answer that. So we use Canva. So what I do is I upload the picture to Canva, and there's a blur option. You can blur the person out, and it looks very professional.
Mm-hmm.
Then that way, everyone else in your group photo is highlighted and still honoring or respecting the other person's wishes.
That's great. Yeah, great advice. Yeah. So the comment for everyone online was you can blur people's faces on Canva, and that's a really great way, and it makes it a little more professional. Yes.
Another thing that we do is we tell people we're going to use it on our Facebook page. If you don't want to be in the picture, you can step aside.
Mm-hmm.
That way they have the opportunity to leave the group, and then you don't have to worry about it.
yeah, that's another great tip is maybe taking a picture with everyone and then taking a picture just for social media. And the people that are comfortable being seen on social media can go in that picture, and then you just have that other picture that you can just share with the students, but you don't need to post it. Absolutely, definitely something really important, just making sure that everyone's safe and everyone's comfortable posting on social media. All right. Any questions online, Crystal? We all good? All good, okay. Okay, so for this research and recommendations part for HLPAE, we conducted thorough market research. We did a whole communications audit. We looked at their current media visibility. It was pretty robust. It wasn't just social media. And we also took a look at their competitors and identified opportunities to set themselves apart. And again, that differentiator is really what you want to promote on social media, is what makes you different and maybe better than another program in your area. And so we found through all of that research that one of their key promotional advantage was their connection to their students and local community. They have a lot of really great initiatives and partnerships compared to competitors that we really wanted to highlight and make sure that we were highlighting on their social media platforms.
HLPAE had a lot of for-profit schools because they did a lot of career technical education. So that's why we leaned into this, because they just had so much connection in the community versus those for-profit school was all about the money. So that's why we leaned into that positioning there.
And so our recommendations for our integrated marketing campaign was to show how HLPAE builds these connections through PR. We did a whole video shoot on site, an ad campaign, and we really wanted to make sure that the website content reflects that rebrand that we did with their new logo. And we also, through that video shoot, developed video content that could be used on their website, but also for social media, and it could be reused for future advertising campaigns, so that one video shoot can really extend its life over a couple of years, and we're able to reuse that content because it's still relevant to them. All right, so once you do all of that research, you know that you can access all of your accounts. Then you can kind of gather all of that into a central place, make sure you have all of that information on file, FAQs, all of that, and then you get into the actual creating a social media strategy. And these are the steps that we built out for you. This is also in the handout, a social media strategy guide that really walks you through each of these steps in a really great way. And I have it right here. You can kind of see what it looks like when you print it out. Yeah, and it goes into each one of these steps into more detail, and we'll also be covering that in the slides. All right, step one, setting measurable goals. There are many different goals that you can, depending on what you want to achieve, right? So you can, if you're trying to achieve just general awareness about your programs, you can measure that with reach, engagement, maybe total response volumes. If you get a lot of questions in HLPAE, we tend to get a lot of questions about programs. Website traffic, you can have specific links that you're using on Facebook and Instagram or LinkedIn, and be able to track, okay, this much of our website traffic is coming from this platform, and that can really help you evaluate the effectiveness of your social media posting, so you're not just kind of posting blindly and being like, oh, I don't know how that worked out. And then also lead generation, the amount of clicks, conversion rate, amount of people that said, oh yeah, I found you from social media, and then they actually ended up enrolling, and again, total response volume. And this little graph that we have here is just how marketing leaders will measure social media success. You can also do surveys, seeing how many people shared or saved your content. That's a really great indicator there as well. So for HLPAE, we again ran that integrated marketing campaign, and these were the objectives. One was increase awareness of their programs, and by showing ads and also organic social media posts, and then also generating really quality leads for their programs by driving traffic to the landing page as well as their website.
Do y'all recognize that moniker up there, Move Ahead with Adult Ed? Okay, so that's the national campaign for COABE, right, that we talked about in several of our classes. There's also a session we did on this that has a toolkit. HLPAE, their website was I don't know how to say it, was a hot mess. So what we ended up doing is just creating a landing page for locally for them, Move Ahead with Adult Ed. It was branded with their logo, and those little buckets down there, those photos, were things that they wanted to promote in the lead generation campaign because that was where their enrollments were low. So just check out that as well and download the toolkit for Move Ahead with Adult Ed. And think about, if your website is going to be a long-term process, but you want to do a campaign, think about just putting together a single landing page where you don't have to put everything on there, but it's really talks about the benefits of what you're doing and captures the contact information for a lead. So that, just wanted to share that nuance for that particular campaign.
And you might be asking, okay, why not just do ads only and just post on social media, or and not do like the organic social media posting? And our strategy for this was we posted on their social media organically without paying for anything that first month ahead of the ad campaign. So it really helped boost credibility and boost exposure, kind of be like, hey, we have all these programs. And then once the ad campaign comes in, the students be like, oh yeah, I saw that post that you published on social media, and it just really helped boost exposure for that ad campaign. And that's why having an integrated marketing strategy is really beneficial, because you can really hit all of those touch points if they see a sponsored post, if they see an e-newsletter blast from you, and then also something if they follow you on social media. All right. Step 2, develop audience profiles.
Okay, I'll give you a break. Also, quick question, how many touch points does it take to get a student enrolled? Touch point is they see an ad, they see a post, maybe they're driven by your school, talk to a counselor. How many does it take? A lot, right? The average is between 5 and 12, but what we find with good job, good job. Yeah, it does. So don't think that you're going to put up one post out and there's going to be high engagement. There has to be a strategy behind it. You're leaving them breadcrumbs. Think about how you purchase a product. You go and get information. They need information too. Just because you put a registration link out does not mean that they're going to click on it and then be lost on your website or something. You know, they're just not going to do that. So the more engaging content you can put out there, the better. So this slide gets into developing audience profiles. To me, this is the most exciting part of marketing, but I'm a geek that way. And what you do is you think about your different market segments that you're communicating with. To your point about the students, you may have a lot of immigrant students, right? You may have some students that want to learn English just to help their kids with homework. Although you may have ones that want to learn English that want to contextualize for career technical education, right? You may have people that want to go straight in learning new skills to get a job. Lots of different market segments. So you really have to think through that, and you have this demographic data on file, that underneath the blue, their age, their gender, their location, income. Usually all of that you have on intake. What you may not have is psychographics. Psychographics are the behavioral characteristics of your populations, and you want to sort of group them into similar groups, similar characteristics, because it helps you with your communication style. What's important for an ESL learner in one hand may be a different motivator for a CTE student. So it's important to kind of create these audience profiles. So the steps here are to segment, divide your target audience into smaller, more specific groups based on shared characteristics. That's really important. And then you're going to choose the most promising segments to focus your marketing efforts on. Sometimes that can be driven by low enrollments, right? And you're like, wow, okay, we really need to get enrollments in this class. This is where we're going to focus our efforts. That's okay too. You'll always have some posts about your general brand, but then when it gets down to lead generation, what segment needs, communicating the most. And then positioning, we talked about this, develop a unique value proposition that resonates with each target segment. By the way, at HLPAEs, they were fast, free, low-cost classes. That was what really resonated across all of their market segments. So you'll have that unique selling proposition as kind of your tagline, your overarching for your brand, and then you may have different motivators for different market segments. So you want to think through that. Who are you communicating with when you set up your audience profiles?
Great, thank you. And so these were the audience profiles for the high priority market segments for HLPAE. And you can see the demographics in black and then the psychographics in red. And you can kind of see how we combined all of those. So for ESL, high school diploma, and CTE classes, these were really who we were trying to target for these campaigns. Very.
We do translate in different languages. The question was, if you have different languages for the folks online, how do you do that? The more specific and narrowed you can get on that message, the better off you're going to be, because research shows we see anywhere between 6,000 and 10,000 marketing messages every day, depending on what market you're in. So they've got all this noise coming at them. So very simple, and there's really a couple of steps to a good message. One, what is their challenge? And can you articulate the challenge so they're like, wow, they understand what I'm going through. So their pain point, their challenge, what is it, right? And that even on a flyer, it could be in the form of a question, Secondly, what is your solution to that? The third is, how do you want them to engage with you? Is it texting? Is it go to a website? But be careful going to a website. Are they going to see the same language? Can they translate that website, right? So we've done landing pages for different ethnicities. So Vietnamese are going to their page, right? That's translated for them. So how to make it easier for them. And then the big thing you want to include in that message is a value proposition. If I take this class, how is it going to help me better my life? What is that? And so oftentimes when we see ads or flyers, we see what I call the kitchen sink ad, where you've got everything in there, everything. And it's like what time the class starts, all these features of the class. That's not going to attract a new student. It may be information for an existing student that might be interested in it, but your whole goal with marketing is to expand your reach. New students. So what is going to get their attention through those 6,000 to 10,000 messages they're seeing every day? So yeah, you got to do some legwork on this segmentation. You can see there's 3. We have one for ESL, high school diploma, and CTE. That was the first thing. Could there have been more market segments on this? Yes. By the way, HLPAE is in a fantastic place, but this is their 4th year going into work on this stuff. It does not happen overnight. You got to have small steps getting there. Did I answer your question? I know that we do the ads, Emma. Emma does a post.
Yeah. For if we were just posting organically on social media, we would do like a carousel post, and we would just do like 3 slides for like the different languages. It makes it a little less busy than just having it all in one graphic. And then of course for paid ads, we do a lot of targeting. So that's just like one static image for languages. I do know that ChatGPT can translate into different languages. I would highly recommend anything that you translate through that be reviewed by someone who's actually a native speaker in that language. Yeah, that might be a time saver there. All right, so now we have the audience profiles. We can access all of our accounts. Now it's about selecting platforms, selecting the social media networks that we want to use. And it can be a bit overwhelming. There are a lot of social media platforms out there now, and it's only getting more scattered. And because of that, we highly recommend focusing on the platforms that align best with your goals, those goals that we already created, and also where your audience is most active. So how do you know where your audience is most active? One, you can look at the top performing content on your social media. You can take a look at some platform insights. If you download the slides, you can click on those links and get to a whole list of a lot of data on what are the most popular platforms. And here's a fun little graph that we found, or chart that we found about the different platforms. You have Facebook, YouTube, and this isn't all of them. Another one that isn't on here that we highly recommend checking out is Reddit. We found that especially like the local Reddits, they're similar to like local Facebook groups where a lot of people tend to ask questions and you can kind of promote your programs that way. What age group is Reddit? I would say it really depends. I mean, it could be like high schoolers or it could be people in their 20s to 40s, maybe not older than that. But yeah, I would take a look at that Pew Research Center. It definitely has a lot of that data. Other things to think about when you're selecting platforms, again, you don't want to do too many. Who will be managing your social media accounts? If it's just one person, it can get overwhelming to be managing like 5 or 6. That's a lot of posts weekly or monthly. And when you're thinking about who's managing your social media accounts, these are the tasks that you might want to think about. Okay, who's going to be like planning what content you're going to be creating each week? Who's going to be actually creating that content? Do you need to create graphics? Can you just use pictures? How are you getting those pictures? Who's going to be actually doing the posting? And then once you post, who's actually going to engage with any questions? Who's going to be engaging with your following? If you're following a lot of other like businesses or stuff like that, how are you engaging? And yeah, how do you receive and create content? And we know that TikTok and Instagram Reels have been really popular. YouTube also has Shorts. Thinking about if you do want to start posting video content, how will you be creating that? It can be a bit time consuming. In our AI presentation, we did mention some AI tools that can help with that. But again, just something to consider when you're selecting those platforms. All right. So now that we have all of that initial research done and we know what platforms we want to post on and who we're targeting, now we're going to get into actually what content you're going to post and creating a content calendar for that. And we created this content visibility success formula. And the reason for this is there's been a lot of shifts in social media algorithms where it went from kind of followers to an algorithm meaning like what posts show up on your social media feeds to really like For You pages. You can kind of explore other accounts and and so social media platforms, they prioritize content discovery over follower-based feeds. And that what that means is there are increased opportunities to be able to reach new people, new students, through these algorithm recommendations, but there's also, it's not reliable that your followers will be able to see your posts every single day or every single time you post, right? Again, why it's very important to be directing all of your followers to your owned accounts, because you don't know, maybe they interact with your post once, but then they never see it again. So we created this content visibility success formula to kind of help you break through the noise of that algorithm, and hopefully this will help you think through when you're coming up with content, what to post. So first, reaching new audiences, creating shareable content that people can save and share with other people or repost on their stories. This is where you can use trending topics. This is where ads kind of come in and really get your message out there initially. And then also there are some platforms that allow collaborative posts. If you can collaborate with other organizations, it's another great way to expose your content to someone else. And then also optimizing your content, making sure you're using the right keywords, hashtags, and captions. We go into this more in the AI presentation as well on how to do keyword research. But it can help with, I mean, people, especially on TikTok and Instagram, are tending to use the search feature on those platforms more to discover new content. And so that can be another great way to get your post visible. So that's really why that's on that reach new audiences part of it. Then connect and convert to followers. This is where you, if someone engages with you initially and they're like, oh, that sounds interesting, then you can kind of share some success stories, make them really feel seen and heard. This is where showing pictures of students, if you're allowed to, can help. And then also encouraging engagement, polls, questions, maybe. Are you really excited for this program? What other programs would you like to see? Stuff like that might be helpful to really connect and make them interested in your programs and maybe follow you and just be interested, but maybe not ready to enroll, but at least they're following you. That's one step closer, right? Then building a community. This is creating an environment where your audience feels heard, valued, and involved, engagement, quickly responding to comments and messages, making people feel like you're accessible. That really is that part of the visibility success formula. So I thought this chart was really cool. It kind of goes and aligns well with the visibility success formula on the best platforms for reaching those new audiences, connecting, creating those connections, and then ultimately building community and converting into clicks and leads or going to your website, whatever that conversion part of it is. And this kind of goes into selecting the social media platforms that you want to use.
Sounds like you can't just post it and leave it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't recommend posting it and leaving it. Definitely need to do a little more work than that to make it more effective. Otherwise, I would say it's not worth your energy. I mean, you can kind of post and, you know, maybe someone will see it, but the real value of social media is those connections. It's that community that you're building. All right, so we're back at that creating a social media strategy chart, and so we already went through those first 3 steps of selecting a measurable goal, developing the audience profiles, and selecting the social media networks. Before we get into the planning the content distribution and, you know, actually posting, what do you post? Here are some content pillars which we highly recommend you create for a social media strategy, and we kind of created some guidelines for you here on awareness, engagement, conversion. It goes into that same sort of content visibility success formula that we just showed you. And what we recommend is rotating through these content pillars when you're planning like a week's worth of content or something like that, or a month's worth of content. So you're showing awareness about your general information about your organization, your programs, then also showcasing success stories, maybe some frequently asked questions. That's the engagement part of it. And then conversion. We have an information session coming up. Make sure you register. Don't forget, our enrollment starts this week, or enrollment is ending. Those kind of reminders, and we really want people to get to click. That's that 3rd content pillar. But you don't want to be promoting things all of the time, because then people can kind of get tired of you, right? So kind of mixing content is really valuable, and that's why we highly recommend using content pillars for your social media strategy.
I have a question for you, Emma. I have a question for Emma. So part of us then in developing, say, a campaign on the awareness and engagement part, let's say we've got one of our classes coming up and they tend to be low enrollment. Would part of the strategy then be just giving awareness around why these classes, what's involved in the classes, you know, kind of go through that for a couple of weeks before you say, okay, they're starting? Is that kind of?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, doing some awareness posts on maybe some different benefits of the class, and you can kind of space that out. That's definitely what we did for HLPAE in that first month, is kind of being like, hey, did you even know that we had this program available and that it was completely free? Like that type of post. Definitely recommend doing that before you get into enrollment. Of course, you can kind of rotate and be like, hey, just here's a reminder that we have our enrollment coming up next month. But definitely the awareness post can really get people interested in that class before you start just promoting to register. And these were the content pillars that we created for HLPAE. So you can see it kind of follows that same guideline that we just showed you. One is discover HLPAE. This is really about the organization as a whole, the school as a whole, and we also kind of added on like holidays or important events there. And this is where we showcase their connection to the local community, any events that are coming up. And then the second content pillar, showcasing the value. So this is where we kind of focused on like actual program highlights. Maybe we talked about like the career outcomes, salary, showcasing student testimonials, or videos of instructors talking about the class. And that's where we go into why are they valuable. It's like the fast, free, low cost classes for them. And then content pillar 3, promoting the actual class enrollment. How can they take action? And promoting those priority classes that we knew we wanted to promote from the ad campaign. And we kind of mixed in some content that we had in the ads to post on organic social media as well. And you can see on that box our other kind of goals when we were thinking about coming up with our content strategy was really re-engaging their audience. It wasn't very active on Facebook because it was a new Facebook page that we had to create for them, and also Instagram. And so that first month was really focusing on re-engaging the audience with really great video content and shareable content, in addition to highlighting programs. And then also highlighting prioritizing engagement with other HLPAE accounts. You might see this with your school or organization. HLPAE has a lot of different other Instagram accounts created for their different programs. So they have like HLPAE manicurist, HLPAE like their medical programs, dental assistant. And so we found that resharing that content onto the main HLPAE page was really valuable, because some students might be following just that page for their one program, but they might not be aware of other programs that you have available. And so another really great way to kind of get exposure, to expose people to other programs, and really showcase awareness. All right, so once you have those content pillars set up, we recommend creating a monthly content calendar like spreadsheet. It can be really kind of basic, as that screenshot there, just the days of the week. And then what we recommend doing first is adding any program deadlines, enrollment deadlines, any important holidays, spring break, whatever those key dates that you have, because that can be an automatic post right there. You know that you're going to post about the enrollment deadline, and so you can plan a post maybe 2 weeks before, 4 weeks before, and kind of build out your content calendar from there. Also really important to include relevant holidays. We find, yes. Yeah. That spreadsheet actually isn't, but we do have we have guidelines on how to do that. Yeah. No worries. Yeah, so we find that kind of capitalizing on other holidays like Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, which I believe is in September, October, that can be really helpful for generating engagement and generating awareness about your programs, and just another great post idea. Okay, so you have that monthly content calendar, you kind of know what you're going to post that week. Then we recommend using those content pillars to kind of balance out the content weekly, and you don't have to post every day. We tend to do 3 to 4 posts a week, but that's just because that's what we do. But I would say 2 to 4 a week can be a good number. And yeah, key considerations. How many times do you want to post? Do you need an internal review process? Does someone need to take a look at your posts before they're published, making sure that they're adhering to those communications guidelines that you created? And you can see in this chart that we created, week 1, we knew that there's a holiday on Monday, so at content pillar 1, no school on Monday. At content pillar 2, that week 1, we're gonna do a student success story, but just like a quote. And then content pillar 3, we're gonna say enrollment starts next week. Then the week after that, because enrollment starts, then we start promoting that class enrollment. We maybe post the class schedule and then highlight the mechanic program. You can kind of see how we use the content pillars as a guide, but then we kind of mix up maybe the types of content that we post. It doesn't have to be like a graphic every time. It can be a photo, it can be a video. And so for the HLPAE campaign, we posted 3 times a week between December and February, and the ad campaign started like the first week of January. And here's an example of the captions that we used for like a week's worth of content. So content pillar 1, awareness post about HLPAE, we offer fast, low-cost classes, visit our registration page. Content pillar 2, this was a really sweet story from a graduate and a current student. And then content pillar 3, this is where we were promoting a class, promoting psychiatric technician, are listing the benefits. In that content pillar 2, we pulled out a quote for a recommendation for content marketing in 2025. And visionary content can be really, of course, inspirational and really effective on social media. Again, making people feel seen and heard on social media, seeing someone that looks like them. And content that can be really effective in 2025 is something to look up to, something to look forward to, something to chase, and your programs really offer that. And so really using that visionary content in your social media strategy can be really effective. Important things to consider when you're writing social media captions, making sure that you're adhering to that caption formula or communications formula that Selena actually mentioned, making sure you have, okay, maybe like a question or the challenge that they're having, that's that hook, then a benefit, why even consider enrolling for that class, and then a call to action. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to call a phone number? Do you want them to go to your website? And make it easy for them, just one step ideally. So then you can just call them or they can call you, and you know, you can kind of go from there and help them through the process. All right, so once you actually come up with the content, then you go and analyze the effectiveness of your content, maybe adapt if you see that video content is really performing well. So tracking engagement trends, adjusting the frequency or types of content. For example, we noticed that Twitter X didn't really perform well in our first marketing campaign. Not as many people are using it anymore, so we didn't end up using it. We did not end up using it for the second integrated marketing campaign. And these were the results. Again, we have those objectives at the top, and you can see over 70,000 impressions on the organic social media posts, and over 900 post shares. That was incredible. We did like a social media contest, like a door decorating contest, and that was really, really sweet in December. And the ad campaign, we had over 6,000 clicks, which was incredible, and really great enrollments on all of our programs. And again, that organic social media really helped boost the credibility of the ad campaign and increase that engagement once we started in January. Yes, of course. Sorry? So the question was, did you use Instagram to post on Facebook, or did you just post separately? We actually posted separately because the Instagram account that we used was still connected to the old Facebook page. It can happen. So we just post it separately, but we also use the social media scheduler. We actually have a slide on that to make it easier and to post. Yep. Yeah, I'll go through these quickly. Okay, so when you're coming up with content and it can be kind of overwhelming to think about all the different things that you want to post. And so what we recommend doing is organizing and streamlining that content with folders. So for all that research that you did or templates, FAQs, just so you have it readily available. We also recommend repurposing content. You don't have to come up with a new idea. You can kind of reuse website newsletter content. Here's a quick example. If you download the slides, you can watch this video, but we reused this holiday baking showcase reel, this culinary program footage, as well as past reels, and we kind of made like a new video to promote their culinary baking showcase. And then we were able to use it last year for the campaign as well as this year for the campaign, and so it's really, really efficient.
I have a question about videos.
Videos, yes.
Because of the short attention span of people, what is the maximum length that you would recommend that a video should be?
So the question was, what's the maximum length that you recommend a video to be? I would recommend under a minute, probably. It really depends on the type of video, but yeah, I would recommend under 60 seconds.
Through analytics, there's the 3-second views and then there's the 60-second
Mm-hmm.
views. So do you stop your video at like a minute and 2? That way you can get to the 60-second analytic?
Yeah, so the question was, do you stop your video at like a minute and 2 to get those analytics? Yes, that's what you can do. Yeah, and that's why it's also really important to make sure that in those first 3 seconds of the video that you have something interesting to catch someone's attention. Yeah. Other recommendations for overcoming content bottlenecks: social listening, making sure you're monitoring other accounts, like I mentioned, making sure you're engaging with your district, news outlets so that they know that you exist, relevant hashtags, and then also encouraging staff and student engagement, encouraging staff and students to follow your accounts, make it easier for them to share content that you can then post, and also host student takeovers. That can be really fun. We actually connected with a student who's in the automotive program at HLPAE, and they were able to create a really great reel, and it was very effective for our social media as well.
So a student takeover is when the student is shooting the video and then us?
No, the student takeover is more like if you post on stories, they're like, oh, this person's gonna walk you through like a day in their life of this class, and then they just post different features of what they're doing in that class. It could also be a feed post, but not really. It's usually more like story posts, which only last for 24 hours. Yeah. For that automotive program, we actually, the student just sent us the video and then we posted it, so they didn't actually have access to the accounts.
But that's what I mean, just them shooting
Yes.
basically the B-roll and
Yeah.
then we put it together and
Mm-hmm.
post.
Yes,
Got
yes.
it.
And you can also use some AI automation tools to streamline that posting. It can get a bit overwhelming. There are a lot of different AI chatbots that you can use to write social media captions. We added like a little prompt for a caption in that blue circle. There are also a lot of social media platforms that are adding AI features into their products. For example, Meta just released like an AI caption writer. They have image generators. So there are a lot of different platforms, social media platforms, that are just adding more and more AI features to make it less time consuming to post on social media. You can also save time with social media scheduling tools. Meta Business Suite is a free one. LinkedIn has a scheduler. We also listed some schedulers with free plans. We use an app called Simplified because it has a lot of those AI tools, and you can also schedule posts on social media. All right. So to summarize, social media is an incredibly powerful tool for adult ed. It really helps with awareness, community building, as well as lead generation. And coming up with a good strategy and systems in place is the key to making sure your social media is effective and you're not just blindly posting. You can make sure that you have measurable goals in place and that you know that your social media strategy is working. And yeah, content pillars and calendars can help keep you organized. And then, of course, you can analyze and adapt your strategy, such as the types of platforms that you're using audience research and social media data. And you can simplify your workflow using those automation tools that we provided. And we added some links here for some resources. Accessible Social is a really great one that I wanted to highlight. It has a free resource hub for how to make sure your social media is accessible for people with disabilities, especially with like if you're posting video content, making sure you have captions on that. It just has a lot of great tips there. And I know we mentioned like a communications plan and crisis communications plan, so we have some templates there for that. And then the handouts are the audit checklist and strategy guide, which you can download in Whova. Yes. Okay. All right. And this is a condensed version of a social media 4-part series that we'll be having in May. Highly recommend you register if you're interested in learning more and going more in depth in any of the steps that we covered today.
I love your, great job. Great job, Emma, great job. Fire hose city, I love it, I love it. I know, a lot of information. So yeah, if you want to take our social media strategy class, it's 4 parts. So that starts in May, so there's a link there for that. The other thing is to sign up for our newsletter, because we talk a lot about our models every month. And you want to go back? Okay. There you go. And you can sign up on our website for our newsletter as well. These links are also in the handout on Whova. Once you download, you go to Whova, there's a 1-pager on there, and that gives you a link to get all of the handouts, the deck. Again, I know it's very text heavy, so it's hard to see in the back, but you'll appreciate it when you get home. It's because it is like a guide. And then the guide Emma actually has put together for your social media strategy and the audit as well. Oops. Let me go down. How do you go down? Okay, there's our newsletter, and then one more. Okay, so the other thing we're doing is we're giving away a seat in our Brand Amplifier course. The Brand Amplifier course is 10 modules, and it culminates in developing a marketing and communications plan. We take you step by step, breadcrumb by breadcrumb is what I call it, where we're breaking down the modules. We give you a case study on workforce and education, and then we give you a template to apply that in your organization. COABE is a affiliate with us. We're their marketing firm. We do their campaigns and things like that. So there is a discount for you, but the class is valued at $1,300. So we're giving a seat away. And how do you enter to win? How do you enter to win, Emma?
Well, you can pick up one of those business cards over there for more information, but you can visit our booth in Whova, our exhibitor booth. Just look up Full Capacity Marketing. It'll be there. There's information. But basically what you do is you just take a look at that curriculum that we have and just message us and let us know how you would use that course to improve your brand. We really want to make sure that we're giving the course to someone that really wants to just optimize their marketing communications plan. So very excited, and we hope you enter.
Yeah, somebody who will dig in with us, you know, if someone's like, yeah, I'm geeking out on this class, yes. Sure. Yes, you do. That's what we want, having somebody.
Yeah, and Crystal just put that bit.ly link in the Whova chat for our session, so you should be able to click that and just go straight there.
Okay, any other questions? Crystal, any questions online? I'm looking at the text here. I think we're good. There's the bit.ly link for you all. Emma and I will stay after if you have any questions. Really appreciate you were very energetic for being so early in the morning. I was like, Emma and I were dragging. I was like, oh, what time is it? Who are we? But I appreciate your time and energy, and make sure you stay connected with us too on all of our socials as well. We'd love to connect with you. Thank you, and thank you online. Bye, everybody. Thank you.